How's Cindy?
Hey Doug, how are you?
Good. I'll be with you visually shortly.
All right.
Did you get a little snow this morning?
A little bit, yeah. Now you're in warmer climates, aren't you?
No, no, I'm still here.
Ah,
Yeah, I don't leave till Friday morning. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was pretty this morning.
Yeah,
How be-
I'm over in Brown's Addition and we got a little skiff of snow and it's been foggy all day.
hmm Same here across the river. I'll be back shortly.
Okay. Hi Justin. Hi Todd. We had Justin for a minute and he's disappeared. Oh, and you're muted.
Well, nothing I said is worth repeating.
Hey Tom.
Hi, Todd.
Hello there. How
Have
are
I-
you?
Yeah, I'm good. Have
Good.
I, I've got an echo that I'm hearing. Are you hearing it?
Yeah, I hear it. Oh, and now I seem to have an echo.
Yeah. Are we going to work?
I'm not hearing the echo. Are you hearing it when I'm speaking?
No.
No. Um, Tom, I wonder if you might sign out and sign back in again since the echo seemed to arrive with you.
Hmm. Okay. Well, how are things?
About the same.
Wow. Hmm. I don't know what I can do.
I'm getting the link to Nancy.
Are you hearing an echo, Doug?
When Tom speaks, and now I'm hearing it when I speak,
Interesting. I don't hear it.
and I don't hear it when you speak now. Uh, should we all get off and try again?
I wonder if it's with you, Todd, since you're the odd one in the group.
I'll mute myself and you tell me if you still hear.
Okay, am I echoing?
No,
You're not. Am I,
Tom is
am I
No
echoing?
echoes.
no.
No echoes.
Does it have to do with the recording process?
Huh. I think Todd's going to go out for a minute and come back and see what happens.
Who's controlling the recording? Is that you, Cindy, or is that Todd?
Um, no one. I mean, I was the first one on the meeting, and it says, this meeting is being recorded.
Hmm.
Oops.
Hi, Justin. You're muted, Justin.
Let's try that.
Yeah. When Todd was on, we were all getting echoes. So he's signed off and is going to try signing back in again.
Okay.
Hmm.
We're trying to slow it off.
Do we have an echo now that Todd is in, but he's muted?
No.
No,
Just hopped out and hopped back in. Do you hear the echo?
Do we hear an echo from Tom?
no, not from Tom, nor from,
Oh, now I'm not
uh,
hearing anybody.
I'm not hearing one.
I have to go back in and adjust the audio, I think.
Hmm. Okay. Life in the world of electronics.
echo again.
Hmm.
Oh, yep, echo again.
I'm trying to get Nancy into the meeting here.
Is Luba available and Dick? Should I try to call Dick?
Yeah, that'd be good.
I played with some settings. Do you still hear the echo?
Do you hear it with me when I'm speaking?
I don't hear it with you. Do you hear it with me?
No. Oh, I think maybe we've got it.
All right.
And no echo now. Tom, unmute him.
Okay, I called Dick and left a message. Is there any echo from me?
No.
No.
You're fine.
Anybody know about Luba?
I'm sending her a text right now.
Okay. I don't know whether any of you recall. Have I got the echo back?
No.
Okay. I don't know whether any of you recall that I heard from Valley Unitarian Universalist Church from Ann Schneider that they abandoned their standard strategic plan process about 15 years ago. And she said they have used the SWAT team, the SWAT process, kind of tried to do it annually, not able to do it quite annually, but they've used that as kind of a forward-looking plan. But she didn't say that she believed it fully replaced their strategic plan.
Yeah, the SWAT is really just meant as a start of conversation in launching into the strategic plan. It's not the strategic plan itself.
Yeah, well, that would be, oh, here we got that echo again. Hmm.
Nancy's muted, so very strange.
And anybody have an echo?
Yeah, Tom's echoing.
So does Doug.
Maybe it's solar flares.
No, you didn't seem to have an echo.
Now no echo.
Okay. Who fixed what?
No, do I have an echo?
No,
Do I have an echo?
no.
Do I have an echo?
Mhm.
Oh,
We're good to go.
I haven't received any reply from Luba. So let's see, we are we're at 4:07. So I think we'll go ahead and begin. And I'm guessing that's Julie that's a guest with us today. So we'll go ahead and begin, and I'll call the meeting to order. You'll note that the agenda is abbreviated today. Hopefully we can get through our business portion that needs to be done in about 15 minutes or so, and then jump in to our strategic planning. Are there any amendments to the agenda, or is it approved as sent?
I would, I would approve it as it was said with just the comment that I did send to Cindy and Nancy a list of things that we need to not lose track of, that some of them have kind of an important time frame, and we're going to have a pretty big meeting in December, likely.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom, and I appreciate you getting that to us. It's very helpful. And then on to our minutes from our, let's see, that would be our October 22nd meeting. Any amendments to that? Okay,
No,
we'll go ahead and approve that as sent. Our next meeting, since we agreed informally with sort of a straw poll to move it back a week, um, that would set our executive team meeting or our executive committee meeting a week earlier on the 10th, and the Board of Trustees meeting on the 17th, both at 4 p.m. And that is like a mere 2 weeks until the executive committee meeting. So just wanted to call that to everybody's attention. Are we still in agreement about that? Can we move forward with that? Seeing fingers up, thumbs up. Yeah.
I agree.
All right, good. That's what we'll plan to do. Could we?
Just a note on that, we need to make sure that ends up with, Michelle and Rebecca, so that all that gets changed around, including new Zoom connections if we need them.
Yes, definitely. And appointing a floating trustee for our next executive committee meeting.
I haven't served in that role for a while. I'd be glad to do that.
I think that makes a lot of sense since we have a to-do list to go over. So thank you, Tom. We'll take you.
Okay.
Let's see. We have an ops team report that Luba, let's see, was going to give us. I believe it was delayed because of office closures and that sort of thing. So I think the report was basically that there was no report. So I will try to either dig that out or check with Luba and see if there's something and forward it to you if there is. And then we have an information only item Nancy's going to speak to. It's from the Social Justice Coordinating Council.
Yep.
So Nancy, please.
So one of the programs that we learned about recently from another UU church is called One Parish, One Prisoner. And some of the members of the coordinating council are really interested in forming a team of 7 to 10 folks to be paired with a prisoner who is going to be released to Spokane in 2 years. And the way that they do this is to make a commitment to 4 hours a month where they will do send prison letters, monthly learning modules, reentry planning, and that goes on for 12 months. And then reentry work, personal accompaniment, and monthly learning modules again for 9 more months, reflection and discernment for 3 months after that. And so basically the 4 hours are read monthly the learning modules, gather in monthly team meetings, write 2 letters or emails or a phone call, and then welcome that person back into Spokane when they are released on February 14th, 2 years from now. And right now there is a fee of $1,000, and Maureen Ladich paid half of that. And they're talking about doing some fundraising to raise the other $500. It is not a church event or commitment, but just the 7 to 10 members of the congregation who are interested in it. And they will begin giving out information probably January. The person that they're paired with, her name is Michelle. And you were sent information by Susan Tyler Babkirk about the program. So if you didn't have a chance to read it, you could go back and learn more about the program. That's it. Any questions? Tom?
You described a number of tasks. Were those tasks the ones that were going to be performed by the 7 to 9 people on the committee?
Yes.
Okay.
So their commitment mainly is a learning commitment, and those are learning modules about that they need to know with regard to interacting with this person, and then a commitment to write letters,
Yeah.
month, and that kind of thing.
And then the person you named, was that the contact to this organization or was that the prisoner?
That's the prisoner.
Okay, so it's a lady and do you know anything about her just out of interest, curiosity? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
Do any of you recall getting that PowerPoint and website from Susan? I know I got it, but I thought I was perhaps the only one.
I don't recall. I don't.
Let me
I
go
don't
ahead
recall.
and send that to the board members, in case it's buried in your mailbox or it wasn't sent. I thought it was really interesting information. I've been involved in a program through the UUA, their prisoner pen pal program, and I've had a prisoner pen pal for more than 8 years down in Texas, and he was recently released, and that was a very happy day.
Yeah. Well, Nancy and the rest of you, this isn't like, we have this publicity thing. We have to be careful of using the church's full name, but we've decided in the past that the coordinating council could use its name, like Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane Coordinating Council, clarifying that. But this is a program that fits right in with our end statements and our mission and everything. It's outreach to the community. It would seem like would be nice to share with the community that we're undertaking this in some way. Any thoughts about that?
I think what we need to do is have the team learn more about the program itself. They'll be guided on what is appropriate and what is not. So they being the people that are interested in serving on this team already, about having an informational meeting in December. They're having a hard time finding an open date. So they're working on that, and they will be creating informational articles to send out so folks are informed. And if that interests them, they could learn more about the program. And then we'll see what they say about letting the larger community know.
Well, even our church community.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All righty. Well, I think we're right on track to move to our strategic planning conversation, and Todd will be leading that. So take it away, Todd.
Just one interesting thing that I discovered. I was going through my files on email, and lo and behold, guess who served on the strategic planning committee 7 years ago? Me.
Okay. You're an expert, the only one in our group.
So this is everybody hearing me okay? No echoes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So NAUA recently did a strategic plan, which sadly I'm guessing is thrown out, not going to be followed. But it was a very good process while it lasted, so to speak. And we started which is very common with strategic plans, with a conversation around the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of an organization, called the SWOT analysis. And I thought it would be just a really great thing for this board to, and I wish Luba and Dick could be here, but for this board to just have an open conversation for as much of the board as meeting is necessary. And I would say, be creative, be open, be honest, be willing to share what you want to share, and I think it'd be interesting to see what sort of picture evolves from the collective wisdom, experience, ideas of this group. It would be nice if somebody would be kind enough to jot down the strengths, weaknesses that are mentioned under under each of these categories. Is somebody willing to do that? So, thank you, Nancy. Nancy will do that. And it may be that as we're going along, we'll try to focus on strengths, and then maybe when we feel exhausted, we'll move on to weaknesses. But if something comes up and we say, well, actually, maybe that's an opportunity more than it is a strength or a weakness, even, sometimes a weakness could actually be an opportunity. So we'll be open about where we put these things in the analysis. But why don't we go ahead and start by talking about the strengths? What are some of the things you see as our strengths as a congregation? Yeah, Cindy.
I would say our history in the community, and I'll add another one, our facility, our building. Although, given our need for some deferred maintenance, maybe that's a weakness too.
I would add, let's see, strength. I would say our weekly newsletter is a strength. I don't know how others see it, but it's informative and it's how widely circulated is it, Todd? I thought I heard Rebecca say once to several hundred email addresses.
Yeah, it's for sure, because we have roughly 300 members, and we always have about 25% more friends, people who are coming that aren't necessarily members yet. So we have a larger email list than we do membership.
I would say our sermons, our music, and social justice work.
I would say what do you call the folks who help Lynn and Gordon on during services on Sunday? What's the term for their
Lay leader.
lay leaders? Yeah, I think our lay leader team is really terrific.
Pastoral care team.
Religious education.
How would we, and I don't know the answer to this truly, a number of organizations use our facility. Some of them rent like the Bluegrass, and then there's a group of weavers who come in. Is that a plus that we both rent out and do we provide, like, for the weavers or the senior LGBTQ group, is that gratis?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you might put that down as opening our facility. I mean, you already have sort of the building, but you could say a strength is being able to share our facility with the wider community, whether it's renting it or lending it.
I think we have good technical capabilities. We have like the booth that's run by Todd. We have the internet. We have the web pages. We have Zoom sessions. We have a back room which has got TV and all. TV and all. I think we have overall generally good technical capabilities.
Um, I would say a plus would be a sweet spot is our memorial garden. Um,
Sure.
Yeah.
Julie, go ahead. Just unmute yourself.
Just no one's mentioned the congregation itself. You have a lot of creative, intelligent people in that congregation who are also very committed to the congregation.
True. Yeah. And I think it'll end up being a a weakness too, but or a threat would be perhaps the lack of volunteers. But a strength is the volunteers that we do have for sure, along those same lines. I mean, we
The
could going to mention all these teams, building and grounds, and everything by name if we, if we really got into it. But a lot of support from people.
I would say having a moral, ethical voice in the community that is not Christian.
mm, would we, if you want to say Christian specifically, or just call us more of a secular rather than sectarian?
Um, I don't know.
I was
I don't
thinking
know.
the word alternative is a possible
So
substitute.
we need to get into a brief discussion about, who's going to see this? Do we want to fine tune? Do we want to just build this and then fine tune it afterwards, or wordsmith it if we're worried about, maybe somebody being offended because we said it's non-Christian? I mean, I get the point. I
Yeah.
mean, it's non-Christian, and there are a lot of Christian options in the community, but there's something unique about us, which I think Cindy's getting at. So
Yeah.
Maybe
it's
maybe
a
I should
different moral
say
voice.
maybe I should say humanist.
Yeah, a humanist ethic,
Yeah.
Unitarian ethic. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. So yeah, alternative, as Justin said.
Can you hold your thought for 1 minute while I pull out the sweet potatoes so they don't burn?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There are priorities.
that goes under threat.
And action.
That's right.
My thought about the non-Christian secular question is in my experience is that I mean, gosh, we celebrate Christmas. What hey, so we got Christmas trees going up and whatever. So it's like we're inclusive of all religious perspectives is a very positive way to see it, seems to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I see that as
Make sure that Nancy hears that when she gets back, so
I'm
that
back.
we get it on the list. So inclusivity, as Doug said.
Inclusive of all, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't see the tree as a Christmas tree. I see it as a holiday tree.
right. But that's you.
Well, it's not a Christian symbol by any means. It's a secular. It's the secular. Uh, it's a secular image as far as Christmas goes. You have the Santa Clauses and the Christmas trees and the snowmen, and then you have the nativity scenes and the North Star and the birth of Christ and all that. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, where I came from, it was Christmas was Christian.
Christmas is Christian.
Yeah, and I don't think my perception is that we are not non-Christian. Christian.
Okay. Inclusive is the right word, probably.
I guess what I was kind of trying to capture is there are many Christian churches in town that speak from a Christian moral viewpoint. And we don't do that. We do something different.
that's right.
But I don't really like stating it in a negative, in terms of a negative. So
We can
I think,
wordsmith that later.
Yeah,
yeah, I think humanist maybe comes closest to my intent.
Definitely a humanist tradition in our church.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
strengths.
the term real estate was mentioned, but I'd like to just take that a step further. We have in our facility kitchens, we have spacious meeting rooms, we have a kind of a second chapel in back. There's a lot of amenities that come with that real estate. So, I mean, real estate's been mentioned, but not all real estate has the spacious rooms, a room for dances, a room, the technical setups, the
Yeah.
meeting rooms. So we have amenities that come with that real estate.
Yeah. And flexible. It's flexible space.
Good. Thank you.
We have an awesome musician team,
Got it.
talented.
Yep. Oh.
Mm.
I don't know how much we call it a strength, but we have a leaning toward fine art, artistic things from the drape behind our pulpit to our doors to sculptures on the property. How do it, yeah, to me, that's, a sweet spot.
I think having a not only a healthy endowment, but
Oh, good. Yeah.
a healthy use of the endowment. The endowment is a means of continuous support for our annual budget, which isn't always the case with churches that have endowments. I don't know why, but I've known churches that are at each other's throats because they have endowments. Because one group doesn't want to ever spend any of it, and the other doesn't know why the church is asking for money if it's got $1 million in the bank, right? So this is really a nice program that we have where we have a growing and healthy endowment, and it's been helping to sustain our church for many years now.
Well, along that line too, the credit recognition of churches that do both, who have an endowment fund which both supports the annual budget and is occasionally used for substantial, large projects. Um, we are in the first category that are solely using our endowment for support of our annual budget. But the fact is, we have an endowment, a big one, a good one, 1,039,000 last count.
Yeah.
We have a
Um,
large parking lot that's well lit and a lot of events that are held elsewhere. Not the case. So that's one reason why I think we get used as often as we do.
Yeah.
We're on public transit route. Maybe not the best of circumstances, but we do nonetheless have public transportation. We have solar as support for our, deferring our expenses. What else? What else can we say?
Well, there's probably a lot of other strengths. So why don't we move on to weaknesses? But if you get a strength that comes to mind, we'll just add it. So
I'm adding our whole lives because that is a program that not only includes our children, but children from the community.
yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if we've said it explicitly or not. I know somebody mentioned RE, but we have a very unique religious education program in general. The Children's Chapel model, the free play model, the Our Neighboring Faiths model, all of these programs that are happening right now. It really is something that I'm sure parents are pleased with, but also kids enjoy coming. And that's the only way to have a successful religious education program these days.
I would say I'm going to add, we have allies. Example, the Spokane Alliance and all the other things that we uh, link up to is our allies, I think, provide some of our strength.
Mm-hmm. And we
Pajamas.
have a really good, really great staff as well. Uh, we've got a staff of very competent employees. So should we move on to weaknesses, potential weaknesses?
Yeah, sure.
At the top of the list, I already have the building because of the repairs that are needed. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which gets into budget shortfall.
Well, yeah. Let's. I want to kind of uh, jump off from where you were, Nancy. It's not only we have an issue of repairs, we have no plans to deal with it. We're probably looking at $100,000 to $150,000 over the next 3 to 5 years between the roof, the kitchen, and maybe heating, ventilating, air conditioning system, and possibly lack of a fire extinguishing system in the RE group. So it's not only the issues that you mentioned, Nancy, it's another weakness is we don't have a plan for financing this stuff. So I see those as two issues. Related, but definitely two issues.
Well, yeah, that's what I would say again is we don't have the money we need to deal with a lot of things. There's a lot of things we need money for, and that's why we ultimately need a strategic plan so we can prioritize. I mean, if the roof isn't leaking, we're probably not going to prioritize it the way we would a floor that is humped up, for example, and we need to get it repaired before it starts buckling permanently.
Well,
Things like that.
yeah, it's the same thing.
Toilets that easily get clogged. Those sort of things.
Yeah.
So we need a strategy.
Yes. And comparable to the floor that's buckling, we don't want to wait until the roof leaks. We need to be thinking ahead about at what point do we try to avoid the leak, which becomes serious, including insurance problem, because it probably wouldn't be covered well by insurance. So, at any rate, that, and then you mentioned, Todd, that I would make that a separate thing, the annual budget. The financing annual budget, it's bare bones. And the staff is probably underpaid, including you and Rebecca and, Jackie and everybody else. So I see annual budget versus big capital gain things as being separate in my mind.
I'll point out that we currently have no CPA and no real, so far, no accuracy, real plan to get one.
You mean a treasurer?
Treasurer or treasurer with
Audit.
certain capabilities.
Yeah, we need
Yeah,
to
we can't just take the next guy walking down the street and make him one.
and audit. We don't have an audit plan at this point, and that's an issue that we're trying to deal with now. Those are all finance issues. Wow.
Aging congregation.
Yeah, true.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Oh, Daniel.
Um, Okay. W- Another another issue that I've been wrestling with as a lead usher is our emergency procedures plan is woefully out of date. It just isn't workable, and we need to, that's a weakness. I'm not sure anybody even knows how to properly evacuate the building under threat of fire or the threat of a hostile intruder. So I would say security is an issue, is a weakness, I guess. Where would that come in with the parking lot? We've had damage to the parking lot, and the parking lot needs crack sealing and possibly resurfacing, certainly repainting. I would consider that whole thing parking lot related issues as being a weakness. Again, I guess it boils down to money, huh?
Well, it does. Yeah, we can plan for a lot of things, but without a plan, if there's no, first of all, we need money for sure. How are you going to get the money? I mean, that's a you know you can plan to get money. All of us do, but that doesn't necessarily mean we'll get it. So these are weaknesses, right? I mean, being financially short is something uh, I think we've always experienced to some degree here. I in all the years I've been here, we've never funded our building fund the way the plan was set aside, or the way the plan required us to, because we didn't have the money to do it. So that's where I think a strategic plan, a weakness is we haven't had a strategic plan for a while, and we need to know what the plan is, so we know what the priorities are and what it is we're going to try to raise funds for, or at least what we need funding for. So
Yeah.
that's a weakness in and of itself.
Yeah, it's so hard to deal with. In 2002, we had that plan. It was so well done by, including Moritz Gundig and me, and we identified all of the equipment and what its lifespan was, when it would expire, and what was needed each year for a 30-year period of time. And that was the original capital reserve funding plan, which was inherently part of a strategic plan, but had to deal with the funding part, and that has long since just gone.
Yeah.
Wow, what else do we see as our weaknesses? Well, one kind of weakness that we have nothing that we can deal with is our pretty much isolated location at the far west end of the metropolitan area. Um, and no way to deal with that. Although somebody has suggested to me that if we had a carpooling situation where members could ride with others who didn't have transportation or found transportation to be expensive. So maybe that's a weakness, is some kind of a cooperative system for getting people to church who can't normally show up in person.
So location would be a weakness for some, at least.
Yeah, location, transportation slash. I would think that we would have to identify ourselves as um, of course, an aging community. We already mentioned that, but how would we identify ourselves as being a hybrid community of not having a lot of people, having part of our group, part of our membership and friends electronically, virtually, and the rest being in community, in person. Um, how is that? That's weakness to an extent, but it's a blessing some way because we get other people who wouldn't normally attend us.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think that would be a philosophical point. We could go into, but we probably shouldn't. Uh, having the technology to live stream, I consider a strength, or aptly put as a strength. We do have we do have a weakness as far as attracting new members. That is something that is slow in coming. Again, I think most people who've been coming since COVID have seen a steady, slow but steady increase in both services as to the number of attendants, but uh, getting more members has always been a problem for us, and I think that is a weakness.
Yeah.
We have a lot of space. Uh, in some ways, it's an opportunity, having space because we have a lot of people that are live streaming, uh, and we could increase that audience infinitely. But it's also given us, 80% of those people who live stream are local, and so it has detracted from the energy in the building by not having a lot of those people here. But it's also given us the space to have new members. So the opportunity is there for growth, but we don't have we don't see the growth that we would like. Let's put it that way. I think that's a weakness.
Well, can we separate that into two provisions? One is increasing attendance, and the other is increasing membership. There is somewhat of a link, but we first of all have to get people to come to us to try to see if the shoe fits. I'd say a weakness is our ability to attract new people, although we are seeing some. We see them as ushers. So I would say just weakness in attracting new attendees. And then a separate one would be building on those new attendees to have them become members as a separate issue. Am I off base, or have I identified kind of two subtle differences?
It's hard to say. I think it's a fine line between what's a weakness and what's a strength or what's an opportunity. The fact that we have new members coming or new people coming is a strength. It's at least an opportunity. So it's hard to say. I would just say growth and outreach is a challenge. I would call those weaknesses that could also go into opportunities.
This is kind of a half-formed idea, and maybe some others can kind of jump in on this. But I know when we've talked at different times about using our space for other purposes or renting it out for food prep, for catering, for schools in the RE wing, one thing that we come up against is our tax status would be endangered by renting it out. I don't know if it's worth even bringing up because there's nothing to be done about it.
Well, there is actually we can designate certain spaces as taxable. Right? Why not pay taxes on a kitchen if we were if it could be a lucrative thing to do?
Is there a distinction between a nonprofit corporation, if we were to rent to a nonprofit corporation and make some rental income off that?
Yeah, we can rent to nonprofits for sure, but nonprofits generally don't have a lot to give, and they come to us because they want a favor. We often do it out of goodwill, but they can't pay much. Whereas a commercial outfit could pay rent, but we would just have to designate that as a taxable piece of our property at the very worst. We used to do that with a part of our parking lot back when the apartments
Yeah.
behind the church used to use it. We had it in. We had to pay taxes on that square footage. So, we could never get a school, for example, in the RE wing again because we don't have the fire suppression system that is now required. But it would not be the worst thing in the world if we were getting an income to pay taxes on that income.
Okay. Well, maybe that needs to be in the opportunities category, that we have a lot of building space that is unused a great deal of the time. And there's the possibility that if it were structured properly, it could be income generating for us.
Yep. Yeah, that's an opportunity for sure. Yeah, good.
Do you, so maybe you can clarify this, Todd, if we rent, if we were to rent out to an organization, a profit organization that, used our congregate, our sanctuary and our friendship hall, or just friendship hall and the kitchen, and we did that 3 or 4 times a year, would we then have to pay the county assessor per square foot for the friendship hall and the kitchen?
There's a I don't know the exact formula, but there is a certain number of times we can rent the space to for-profit organizations without paying.
I believe it's 15. I believe it's 15 times a year.
15 times a year. Yeah.
That sort of rings a bell with me talking to Rebecca.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Is that with regard to federal tax return, or just the amount we would owe the county assessor?
I think it's the state is the one that's come down on us, Washington State.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So an opportunity would be to try to work or rentals within whatever limitations there are to try to minimize or not pay taxes due to profit-oriented rentals.
Or to restructure our organization in some way so that, a chunk of the building isn't exactly nonprofit church. It's nonprofit church support organization.
Yeah. 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 We could figure that out, but I mean, it could, if we were to rent our space during the week to a business that was thriving, let's say, I can't imagine what that business would be, but if we did, the money that would come in would be well worth having to pay taxes on.
Well,
And we should feel good about paying taxes to our community, because that's
well, for instance, if I just use Pajals as an example, because in the very beginning, long before a lot of us were here, of course I was here, they started and they were in the Glover House, and they were not paying any rent because we were a little more flushed with members and finances at that time. But if somebody like Pajals were to assume one of our RE rooms as a business office, is that what y'all are talking about as a possibility?
Well,
well,
I
but
think
that would be a nonprofit, so we wouldn't have to worry about the taxes. Yeah.
yeah, nonprofit versus a caterer.
Yeah. Versus a caterer. So we can only, that's why we have not allowed small caterers to come in and use the commercial kitchen, because if they did it on an ongoing basis, we would end up having to rezone it for taxes, which I've actually talked to Rebecca about this and said we need to do that. If we have to pay taxes, we have to pay taxes. If we have a paying customer, we're going to get more than we'd be paying. So
How do we handle weddings that are not of our members? Somebody comes in and
weddings count as a church, as a religious function. So those are not taxed. Yeah.
so even using the kitchen, if their caterer uses a kitchen, that's in that category.
Yeah.
Okay. Opportunities. Wow.
Well, I want to throw out another couple of weaknesses. One, it was mentioned, I think, by Tom, but I think, an underpaid staff is a weakness, and so is an overworked volunteer base.
Yeah.
We've tried to professionalize as much as we can of what were once volunteer positions or jobs, which only adds to the overworked or the being underpaid on the staff side of it. So it solves a little bit of one problem, but adds to another.
What about counting the whole generosity efforts over the last few years as being less than successful. Is that that has to be a worry or a weakness?
That's
Well,
tight.
are you referring to not meeting our financial needs?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the whole process. In years gone by, it was one-on-one. We visited everybody, and those were successful years. We met our budgets, and sometimes even exceeded it. The Valley Unitarian Universalist in Glendale is trying a different thing, which is more personal. They're having cottages in which various people are invited to join a group of 10 or 12 people in a cottage environment in somebody's home and talk about what's good for the church and why should people be willing to give more to have more personal involvement in their campaign. That's just a technique, but what we're doing now is we're not reaching our goals. So I would consider that a weakness.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure I would blame it on blame it on the process. I mean, that's debatable. It may be that we just don't have the money. I think a lot of people are giving everything they can. It's not because their arms haven't been twisted enough or they're holding back. I think a lot of people give everything they can, but we've lost some key members to death and to the splinter that took place a few years ago that has left us about $100,000 or more less than we were used to getting, and that's a cold reality. It's very difficult to pull that out of turnips.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that that there's not an opportunity to shift how we do our strategy and how we do our fundraising or stewardship campaign. For sure, that's worth taking a look at. But I wouldn't want to phrase it in a way that sounds like we're blaming the process. I know there's some people who aren't happy that there were changes made, but I would question I would question some of the things that were done in the past that cost us that I know cost us some pledges, which I won't go into. So
Well, we're not having a very long list of opportunities here.
well,
We're still weaknesses, aren't we?
yeah, the weaknesses are kind of going into opportunities. If you think about it, they're sort of mirrors of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a weakness and then you all of a sudden see something you can do about that weakness. Uh, Strengths, of course, speak for themselves, but
I wonder too if there's still a bit of a shadow that hangs over us from the split in the congregation.
yeah, I think that's a good observation. Kind of a either a shock, an anxiety, a melancholy. I think all of those feelings are real
Mm-hmm.
for some.
Um, well, is there? Huh. I'm trying to figure out if I could make an opportunity out of that. Um, would there be? Is there any opportunity if the two churches were to undertake things more jointly so that there was a larger Unitarian presence in the community? If there were,
No,
two congregations trying to work together?
no, I don't see that as an opportunity. I see that as a source of anxiety for for many.
Well, I'm sure it would be. I'm trying to think of the bigger picture of two Unitarian Universalist congregations, which some communities our size have, more than one. Ours is,
Well, yeah, but I mean, we can't overlook what transpired
I
those
know,
years ago. Some of us won't, including myself. So, that may be a time when I'm no longer here that conversation takes place, but I think there would have to be some real honest conversations with some of those folks and their behavior, and I'm not alone in that. So I don't see that as an opportunity at this point.
Okay. Guess would be under the category of a weakness. More, yeah. Opportunities. Opportunities growing out of weaknesses. How can we get a longer list? I'm looking at the list I've got. It ain't very long.
Well, we've got some opportunities. We've got what we've got. Hi, Luba, by the way. We're talking about opportunities right now that the church might have. So, but Nancy, maybe you can go over them a little bit, what we already have, but I think we named quite a few. You know, we've got growth opportunities. We have rental opportunities. Uh,
Those are the only two I have as far as opportunities. I thought we hadn't quite moved there quite yet, but I think we're ready to.
yeah, let's focus on opportunities.
Um, Nancy,
Yes.
would you want to do like a quick recap of our lists for Luba, just so she can see where we've been going with this?
Sure. So I'm going to start with strengths. Social justice work, our history in the community, our building, our newsletter, sermons, music, lay leaders, pastoral care, RE, the OWL program, Children's Chapel. Children seem to enjoy coming. There was a couple other programs in RE that were strengths, but I can't remember the name. Building rental, the building is open and we share with the wider community. The technical capabilities, the web, Zoom, live stream, etc. The memorial garden, creative, intelligent congregants, our teams, our moral, ethical voice in the community that is more humanist than Christian, or something to that effect. Inclusivity of all, our kitchen, chapel, lots of real estate with amenities and its flexible use. So those were strengths. You want me to do the weaknesses? So the weaknesses are the area of building repairs, the budget shortfall, no plan in place for building repairs, a shadow from the split of the congregation. Again, the annual budget, not having an audit, aging congregation, no emergency plan in place, security, parking lot issues, the fact that we haven't had a strategic plan for a while, our isolated location, and the need for more transportation for older members, I think is what we meant. Tracking new members, bringing in new members. The use of Zoom and live stream is a plus and a negative as folks are watching, but not in place in church. We need to concentrate on growth and outreach, underpaid staff, overworked members, overworked minister.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I'm sorry I was awfully late. I took Tylenol. It was kind of emergency situation. The bulb and the lamp in the room where I'm sitting now fell. I had to ask an electrician to come over and evaluate. Luckily, there was no fire, but the electric, whatever, wires were burned.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah, that's why I have a headache, but I took Tylenol.
Yeah. Let me go back, Nancy, in the increasing attracting members. I want to again I go back to there's a difference to me between somebody becoming a member and somebody being attracted to the church. And to me, that's a distinction, a weakness that we need to identify. In other words, we tried advertising on the radio. We do some advertising in the FIG. But what else could we do? So I think there's an issue of attracting new attendees that needs to be separately identified there.
You mean not just increasing membership, but increasing friends of the church?
No, just getting people to come in the front door for the first time,
Okay.
whether they don't come for a second or third time, but you know, ushers ask the people, and we're getting answers back. They sometimes are new to the community and are Unitarians already, so they look for us and they go on the web and look for us, or they do a search, a Google search, or they hear about it from friends. Is sometimes at the Pride Parade. Could we have a presence in other places? Farmers markets, that I'm just throwing ideas out. But that's not attracting members. That's attracting people to come in the front door for just once.
Okay.
That's the distinction that I'm trying to make.
So I think that, I mean, that ends up becoming strategy, right? Those sort of fine
Sure.
tuning of how do we respond to these things
Yeah.
ends up becoming part of a strategic plan. I don't know how you would put that necessarily in the weaknesses, but getting more, attracting more people, outreach, those sort of things.
Yeah, that's it, right? You don't need to say anything more than that. Another weakness that has come to my attention when we had the fire department representative come here to Rockwood, and then um, I had a discussion, and that has resulted in a contact with Rebecca. There's been multiple fires on the west side of Government Way up in the Palisades Park area. We've been lucky that they haven't come down far enough to jump the road into our property, but we have a pretty vulnerable property because right down there in the corner, we have ponderosa pine, one of the most fire-prone, trees in the entire environment. So my weakness to me is um, the weakness of those trees in that corner. And that's a weakness as I see it from a fire protection. And I'm not sure what we could do about it except to try to do what we've done annually or close to annually, and that's clear out the undergrowth, limb the trees up or whatever. But is there anything else we could do? Because if that catches fire, there's other pine trees on our property, and then we have an asphalt roof, nasty implications.
So yeah, that goes back to, fire. We're living in a fire-prone area. We could put that down as a weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe a plan would develop around mitigation efforts. So, but yeah, let's concentrate more on opportunities. That might take more imagination, and we don't have to come up with an equal list of opportunities. But certainly, we have room to grow. That's a real opportunity. We have, the strength of our technology. That is an opportunity for outreach that isn't going to necessarily cost us any more money.
What about, there's a general growing feeling in the community that Christian nationalism, which isn't necessarily a religion, but it seems like we provide some kind of an opportunity to people who want to examine or know about opportunities that are not along the Christian nationalism, not Christianity, but Christian nationalism. Is that an opportunity we could exploit somehow? Exploit's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean.
I think in general, we have an opportunity to appeal to people that are of I don't know, a mindset that is not necessarily that of the status quo. Right? We have a liberal mindset, an open mindset, and that's rare enough in the country and in our community to where that's an opportunity for us to reach those people. That's kind of how I would put that. I wouldn't necessarily get into how we go about that, whether it's appealing to people who are worried about Christian nationalism or worried about Donald Trump or anything else, but just that we have a unique, very liberal message, and we there's probably a lot more liberals in our community than come to our church.
Yeah.
I think of the Dr. Joan, what was her name? It starts with a B.
Ron,
Ron, thank you, who came and spoke at church. There were I think there were 170 people in person and more online who attended that. And I think when we host events like that, that we mm,
Yeah.
encourage folks like that maybe to come back and check us out on a Sunday.
Well, yeah, that's good exposure.
Mhm.
But so how would we describe that? Oh, excuse me, Justin.
I was just saying that I've been thinking along those same lines, almost echoing the same words that you just said.
So how do we put that on our,
That's that uh, publicity, but we got to find the right people, the right speakers, the right causes. I'm just going to generalize at the moment, but I think you're on the right track.
well, yeah, I mean, we could just put down the guest speaker program in itself is an opportunity,
Yeah,
right? We get some pretty good guest speakers. So maybe part of the strategic plan ends up being how do we promote them better? Or when they're here, how do we promote our church better to those special guests that come? So that's how this is supposed to work, right? When you see it as an opportunity, then as we start to strategize planning, well, how can we take advantage of that opportunity? We don't have to do that now, but I'm just pointing us in a direction. So we don't have to
I
solve
think
these problems or figure out how we're going to take advantage just yet, but we can.
so events that promote our church in essence?
Yeah,
Or liberal values.
or liberal values.
Where does the Spokane Alliance meet?
where does it meet?
Yeah, physically.
Sometimes
It's been a
that
while since I've been to the meetings. Well, one answer is all over the place.
They have an office though, I think up at the Methodist Church. It used to be up there
Yeah,
near
it used to be
Perry
Liberty
Street
Park.
exit.
It used to be Liberty Park up there,
Yeah.
uh, by Sherman and that area. Deb Conklin was a central figure back then, and assume still is. We
Mhm.
used to meet at hers, but we'd meet at this church and that church and somebody's home and every other place. And again, it's been years since I've been a real participant.
Well, is that an organization since we have a large space? And a free parking lot, is that something we've ever pursued as far as putting in the category of opportunities? That's something that should right up our alley.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, this is strategizing for how to harness these things. I put a bookmark on those suggestions.
Um,
We've already got the space as an opportunity, right? Our space is part of our opportunity. So
this this might be a little too strategy-ish, but maybe just a little note for later. There's the whole bowling alone phenomenon of a decade or two ago, and where more people were bowling than ever, but leagues were dropping. So people were going bowling and bowling by themselves. And then in the post-COVID area, people seem to be more dispersed than ever. So that challenge of appealing to the larger community and bringing people together. And there's the Washington State Commission for the Humanities that brings fascinating speakers to places all over the state. We might be one of those places. Just other sort of non-secular ways to engage with people.
So not necessarily rentals, but providing space for an event or an occasion on a regular or random basis that would get new people through our doors, walk over with some of our literature.
Yeah.
So how do you, that's a big category, but it's maybe use of our space and not rental of our space.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the opportunities. I mean, what I'm hearing is there are other liberal groups in the community that don't know about us that are an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as strategy goes, I mean, the one has been mentioned already. Let's bring them into our space or find a way to bring them into our space. The other is going to where they're at, right? What if we had ambassadors that went to the local drinking liberally group, if there is one, you know? But those are strategies that we bring up as we start to create the plan. Once we have the opportunities, we'll then look at the solutions.
So we've got unused property, and then those kinds of things would fall under that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a big opportunity is just it could be explored and exploited. There's that bad word I can't think of a synonym. Our space,
Yeah.
free parking, a kitchen, and lots of space, and a PA system, and electronic support for organizations that would draw people into our doors.
But I think it's more than that because we do draw people in. And often those people don't know anything about what we're about. And so that's an opportunity, right? That's what I'm saying. That's an opportunity. How do we have systems in place to let them know a little something about us? You know, we're welcome to the Unitarian. We're glad to have you here. By the way, we've been here this long and here's what we're about. You know, anything. But that's part of the strategizing. What do we do to sort of invite people to come back? If that's what we're getting out of it. If we're looking at, yeah, we're sharing our space and yeah, we're getting goodwill out of it, but maybe we want more than goodwill. We want some of you folks that share some of our values to consider coming here. So how do we take advantage of that? That could be part of the strategy, figuring that piece of it out.
Well, again, I don't know whether still in a weakness or an opportunity. One of the things that took place in the past, pre-COVID, possibly even before you were here, Todd, was when we did have new people came in and we ended up with a phone number and a contact, either an email contact and a phone number, there was a team of volunteers that reached out to them, particularly if they came back more than once, but sometimes only once, reaching out to them. And that was part of what was making use of people walking through our doors once. And so
we still do that.
Wow, as a board member, I'm not sure who that committee or team is.
We have a volunteer who comes in every Monday and looks at those guest
Okay.
forms that have their information, and we write them a letter that I sign.
Okay, well, that's great. Is there any personal contact, reach out if there was a couple of volunteers who'd be willing?
There's an invitation if they would like to reach, if they would like us to reach out to them to know more, to let us know. So
Okay, All right, I guess it's covered.
Well, I mean, it can be improved, but we don't need to improve it tonight, right? Because
Oh, no, no,
this
but
is, yeah.
it would be in that category of focusing on new attendees and without having to say much more than that. More opportunities.
Oh, well, what about threats? Let's look at some of the threats. We've probably covered some of those somewhat in the weaknesses too.
Well, to me, one of the threats are just natural laws and encumbrances. Example, we can't rent out the schools because we don't have the fire extinguisher equipment. We can't do this because of tax laws. We can't do that. These are not necessarily things we're going to easily overcome, but they are threats,
So
which is
restrictive regulations and
restrictive
laws.
restrictive regulations, right?
Okay. Yeah. The you know, I mean, we could say one thing: not having enough money is a threat, right? And,
Yeah.
and in the other side of that is uh, living beyond our means. I think that's something that is that is a threat. Sometimes we have to face the financial reality and figure out how we shift how we do things. I mean, I recently recontracted to be a three-quarter time minister to help with that, and I think that's a good move. But there may be other things we need to strategize around. What can we do differently? Uh, what can we do without those sort of things? We're always figuring out how do we get more, but maybe there's things we need to cut.
We mentioned under weaknesses, but it's really also a threat. When that would be the threat of being caught up in a wildfire situation.
I'm reminded of hearing Peter Morales speak a couple of years ago, and he talked about just the hard, cold demographics and that fewer people are attending church with every generation. So it's most pronounced in the youngest cohort. Um, and there are little blips from time to time, but you look at the big picture and it's a big downward slope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Changing demographics. Yeah, around religion.
Yeah.
That's a huge threat. There's a little bit of an opportunity there too, though.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the changing attitudes are people who are becoming frustrated with traditional churches and their illiberal attitudes, their politicizing of religion, that sort of thing. So
Absolutely.
it could be that we could attract some of those. So that could go under the opportunities. This sort of what they call the nuns, the NONESs, who are increasingly atheist.
Mhm.
I think another threat is being detached from any real uh, a larger religious identity. I know currently our church is both part of UUA and NAUA, but I think that the UUA has abandoned the tradition that this congregation was founded upon and has maintained up to this point. Uh, I see that stuff dissipating increasingly over the years in the years to come, and I think that's a real threat. Having a congregation that is historic as ours, that has been part of this tradition and actually helped shape this tradition in such a profound way, being dislocated from the world of religious liberals is a threat from the
Um,
greater liberal religious movement.
Kind of along the same line, a threat would be with would be what would be a source, if there is such a thing as a source of a new minister when you retire or leave us for whatever reason,
Yeah, that's a real threat.
see that as a threat.
That's a real threat. Yeah.
Mm.
What happens when I go, and I will, hopefully not in a box. I would hope a lot of people hope that. Uh,
For sure.
yeah, but yeah, that's a big concern too. Uh, there's some opportunity there too, though, right? Because there's a lot of religious liberals, particularly Unitarians, looking to our church as a place of leadership and sanity. So being able to connect with them, um, I think, is an opportunity.
Well, you just call. I'm still in the middle of this meeting, not in the middle, we're probably 10 to 20 minutes from conclusion. Can you just put something aside for me? Okay, thanks, Tom. Bye.
What other threats?
Hmm.
I think I don't necessarily see aging as a threat. I I think Unitarian churches are generally grow by bringing older adults in. That's our market. Uh, while children may be the future of the world, they are not the future of Unitarianism. Uh, Unitarianism usually attracts adults who sort of experimented with everything and then discover Unitarianism uh, and say, "Oh, I didn't know that place existed," which is another opportunity, right? The people who
Yeah.
would come if they knew we existed.
You have ears.
But we do have we've had a substantial number of our uh, very people who've been very successful in life who have lived into their 90s pass away rather closely together.
Yeah.
Which has caused a further financial stress on our church.
Well, a lot of those people, which would be, similar to some of our ages, a little bit older, are people who came into this very congregation at the height of their early middle age, if not advanced
Yeah,
young age, and that's a body that is now aging out. And I don't know where there's another similar younger age group, so many involved with their professional careers and family, like, my kids, Aaron and his wife and the three granddaughters. They are so involved in family activities, supporting their family structure and other families. Aaron's just told me over and over again, there isn't time. There's not enough time in my life. So I don't know whether the group we're getting some children coming in, but maybe that's a group where the children are out of the nest, that are in their 40s. How do we get to those people?
right. That's right. And also, a threat is the changing economic demographics in our country. Right. We don't have as many adults moving into the sort of financial rate of success that a lot of people have. And Unitarians in particular are known for attracting people that are in the sort of social work arena, right? So you've got a lot of teachers, a lot of social workers, a lot of folks that have not necessarily been paid well during their lives to have the kind of income that we've seen from some of our folks in more lucrative careers.
Yep.
And so we're not able to replace those folks as easily because they don't exist as much as they once did.
Would any of despite the NAUA being a different kind of organization, and I did print out and reformat um, their plan. Is there anything to be extracted from? I'm just glancing at it. I'm not seeing anything that really hits us as an individual church and congregation.
Well, NAUA, was of course started to be something that mostly connected us all, and it succeeded. I don't know if it will continue to succeed or not. The group that has taken it over are wanting to take it in a very different direction than I wanted it to go, which is probably why I'm no longer part of it.
Is there,
But
oh, excuse
no,
me.
no, 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 go ahead.
Well, is there any, I'm kind of, from my planning background and working with other planning departments around the country and professional organizations, we often were able to take something from another planning department and say, hey, let's try that here, or let's do that here. Is there any way that we could capitalize on anything going on with other congregations, or is our kind of weak link with UUA, um, liability with anything like that? In other words, is there anything we could gain by reaching out to some of the more progressive liberal churches that and see if there's anything to gain from them? And if so, how?
Well, I mean, I think that's again something worth considering as part of strategy is which churches do we connect to, and how do we connect to them? I mean, I think, at this point, the wisest thing to do would be for certain congregations that share much in common to create a just sort of loosely informal relationship where you ask different members of those churches to be on a committee that its job is to connect us, whether it's joint services or classes that we can participate in online, but just kind of a sort of informal confederation or support for one another, and just to help our congregations feel like we're part of something larger than ourselves.
Is that an opportunity there? Should we list that vaguely as something?
I think that's an opportunity, as I said, the fact that people look to us as the leader in preserving traditional liberal religion. Those We can connect with those folks, connect with those churches in an informal collective of sorts, sort of a small collective of congregations. So that's an opportunity.
I'm
The
just gonna
the threat would be for us not to do anything. The threat would be if we just say, okay, we're going to exist here by ourselves. We call ourselves Unitarians, but what happens down the road when nobody remembers what that means? If there's not, some tradition or history around that. So we really have to. We can't be isolated in Spokane, and we can't be the Church of Spokane, right? We're the Unitarian Church of Spokane, or the Unitarian Universalist, even if people prefer that. But that has to be part of our strategy. How do we navigate the reality that our religion is in a way that we can survive it and even thrive?
The threat of isolation.
Yeah.
And that would be under a weakness, actually, huh?
Brett,
Well, I think, yeah, either one. I think it's also the threat of losing our identity, the threat of being disconnected from our liberal religious heritage, our roots. It's a constant threat.
Yeah. What, is there any place in this SWOT discussion for trying to get input from the greater community, our friends and members, be it by a survey or by a meeting, or is that again under strategy of how to accomplish something? But it seems like ideas
Well,
from a greater number of people might be beneficial somehow.
yeah. I think what I would say to that is one, I mean, it feels like it's 5:30. I think we've probably done a pretty good job in this conversation so far. We've got a nice list. I think I would leave it up to the board now to discuss discuss where we go from here with this. I wouldn't make that decision just yet. I would if Nancy might fine tune this and send it out and let people reflect on it for a while. But the question of, do we want to go further with this? Do we want to now engage the congregation in these conversations and see if there are items that come up that maybe uh, are maybe one person says something that's so uniquely interesting that nobody thought of it needs to go on the list, or maybe several people are saying the same thing that it needs to go on the list. But that would be up to you. Or do you want to engage the congregation in a different kind of conversation, right? Around how do we, maybe you want to go right into these issues and say, okay, here's some of the opportunities and threats that we've identified. How do you think we ought to approach these? Do you have any ideas? Maybe that's the conversation. So I would, rather than decide now, let it sort of sit with the list and then decide how you want to proceed with the congregation. But for my opinion, Tom, to answer your question, I do think a next step is figuring out how you want to engage the congregation in this strategizing from here.
Yeah, well, and just to remind people, we do have the 2017 update to the strategic plan, and a number of us, Nancy did it, I did it, probably others did it, went through that plan and struck out things that have been accomplished or were no longer relevant. So that, there's a framework for the strategic plan, and somehow blending these two together would be helpful. The other thing came out was a couple of board meetings ago, we asked everybody to look at the 2017 plan and to send comments back to me, which I did, and I did summarize everybody's comment in one of the documents that I sent out, which I could send out again. But it seems to me the strategy here needs to be a list of stuff from Nancy, and then sitting down with the 2017 plan and the things that we could agree to strike out and not deal with or aren't relevant, and see what we have left to go somewhere with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something for you to decide as a board, because it may very well, I mean, as far as the operations team plan goes, that plan's dead. We dealt with that plan. It's no longer important. So you can use that as a framework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could start over. You could say, well, what themes do we want? Do we want to make the themes each one of the items on each end statement a theme, you know? Or do we want to do like I can't remember what we did with that strategic plan, but maybe it was, create community, find meaning. But what is it? Help me out. Create
Work for
community, find
justice.
meaning, work for
Work for
justice.
justice.
Yeah, do we do that?
Yeah.
So there's different. You may look at this list and say, okay, we've got some opportunities here. Let's make the opportunities the strategic plan. How do we take advantage of the opportunities? So I wouldn't get in a box that we necessarily say we're going to just take the old plan and refurbish it. I would think out of the box and create your own list of goals that you want to focus on. And that's what the SWOT analysis is for. The SWOT analysis is to help you articulate the goals that you would like to see in a plan.
Well, one of the things that you came back to us with in the last October meeting was that the operations, and I'm quoting from the minutes anyway, the operations team uses this strategic plan and checks off items when they're accomplished. So if that, to the extent that that's true, a lot of things are accomplished or aren't relevant. But if we use our thinking, our mutual joint thinking, maybe including some stuff for the congregation, and come up with another checklist for the operations team to use in the next year or the year after that, it's supposed to be a 3 or 5 year plan, isn't that part of the purpose, is something that it can be used to help guide the operations team in what they need to do.
Well, yeah, that's where the objectives come in, right?
Yeah.
So the objectives that go into the plan, right? I mean, if you do this, at least you do how we sort of have done it in the past. You have your major theme, and then you have goals under that,
And then
and
you
then
have,
you have objectives, and then it gets distributed to the proper teams and people that would then come up with the action steps.
yeah,
So the plan will not be complete until there's the action steps, and the action steps become what we check off, really.
right. And that is exactly what Ann Schneider shared with their team. She said, we do SWOT with an A at the end, and the A is action.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's kind of,
perhaps, but that's if you're perhaps looking at the SWOT as the plan, right? Whereas to me, the action comes out of the SWOT analysis, which is why most people would leave it at the SWOT, because the SWOT is only the beginning
yeah,
of the process. And now that you have, say, okay, we've got these weaknesses identified, we've got some strengths that can be helpful. We've got a building, we've got committed volunteers, we've got a good solid staff, whatever, great services. Okay, what are the opportunities here? And what are the threats, and how do we ward those off? So you start to shape your plan around that. You create your goals, you create your objectives, you get that to the teams, they come up with the action steps, and then that becomes the thing that's what's measurable. Those action steps are what's measurable. So
yeah.
I would leave the action to later myself.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's my advice at this point, that we stop and we just get the list and think about it and sit with it, and then devote some more time next board meeting, and maybe be thinking about, yeah, what's the fund, what's the foundational structure, right? Which is going to be, what are the areas, and how are you going to define those that you want to concentrate on, and then from there you work on your goals.
Okay, the other thing that comes to my mind is, having worked with planning commissions and lots of, kinds of stuff like that, is whether the whole body deals with this on a continual basis, or whether there's any room or for a subcommittee of the board, or do we hold full board special meetings in addition to any meetings necessary to carry on the business of the church? What's people's opinion about that? How do we go from here with that?
Well, that again is yeah, that's something you could do. It feels to me like you're a small board, and this is the main thing the board should be working on, because you're a visionary board. You're supposed to outline the vision. Ultimately, the board has to approve this vision cohesively, one way or the other. So I would recommend that this be a substantial part of your work. You may even discuss at the next board meeting a timeline, right? When do we want to have our what do we call them, the themes? When do we want to have our themes ready? When do we want to have our goal statements? And when do we want to have our objectives? And how do we want to go about that? Tom's saying, do we want to appoint different groups within the board to work on certain areas? Do we want to have a group of 3 do the whole thing and come back to the board? Or do you want to work on it as a board during a board meeting? Do you want to schedule additional board meetings? That kind of stuff. So, but it feels, to me, my recommendation is that the whole board work on this. It's a small group.
Well, let's plan a significant portion of our next meeting to address those questions. And then we'll go from there. and we'll take Tom.
Yeah.
I will send the list out, but please don't hesitate if I've jotted down that wasn't what I meant. Don't hesitate to let me know. But I won't be doing this until Friday.
Sure.
Good idea.
And then I'll look through what went on in 2017. One of the things that did happen at some point in time is that this was shared with the congregation for input. And I don't know if it was at this point or if it was after the board came up with the general structure.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it was not. I mean, I think the strategic plan is not something that the congregation votes on.
No,
Right?
they didn't.
The board is the visionary. That's your job. But you want to get the congregation's input on the front end. Right? You want to have that workshop where they're sticking up the sticky notes or whatever it is you come up with, surveys. You want the congregation to feel like they've been part of this, and they should be. And I would figure that piece of it out sooner or later too. But especially if you can guide them, right? So if you have those themes already, the board, there's the themes where we're going to put into this. What are some of your ideas? Then you have a direction you're pointing them in.
Yeah. So that would be good for you to look back at that stuff, Nancy, because again, I'm quoting Dan Ekert in the minutes. He said that in the past, the results were voted on by the congregation. That doesn't mean we have to do it that way, but, and he may be incorrect in that
He's
respect.
incorrect about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably remembers that we involved the congregation in those preliminary conversations.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm against the congregation voting on a strategic plan.
Well,
That
it could have been
defeats the
voting.
purpose. That
It could
defeats
have
the
been
purpose of a
voting
board.
by sticky note, that
Well,
might
yeah,
have.
that's right. Input for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to, my suggestion is here that we still have business to conduct at each of our meetings, and we need to do some of that, and we put off from this meeting till other meetings. So how much time we can devote to this without having a special meeting or two meetings of the board to deal solely with this and no other purpose. I think we need to think realistically about that.
Right. And prioritize. But this, of course, is fundamental business of the board too. So.
Mhm.
Right.
All right. I think we've done it. We ran a little bit over, but good job. That was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Hard too, but good.
All right.
May I ask a question, Cindy?
Yes.
Because I'm not feeling well. That was a vet with bad news about my cat. So I have two kind of emergencies. I'm not able to read the report about the operations team. Did anybody read it, or what can we do about that?
No, I was going to check with you or look through my email and then just forward that out to everybody.
Yeah, because I'm a mess now. I cannot read.
Okay, so you're going to send it out to us, Cindy, is that right?
Yes, I will. Okay, folks, well, get to brining those turkeys, baking those pies, and we'll meet in 3 weeks. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanksgiving.
So long, everybody.
Bye.